Andreas, German is wonderful to set music, but with English, it triggers an imagination that helps me reach beyond something that I would usually, where I could usually be with language. So that's the benefit English has for me in this case.
I know that Lina has chosen to express herself in English, but she could express herself in many languages.
Jamal, it's a very interesting question. I mean, for me, my first, I'm illiterate in some of the great languages of the world. You know, I'm illiterate in Malayalam, which is my mother tongue. I have Devanagari script, so I can read Hindi more or less. I grew up partly in Sudan because my father was posted there by the Indian government. And so I was brought up on the one hand with the great shlokas and chants of Malayalam and Sanskrit and Arabic. So Arabic actually has been in my head for a very long time in my life. And in fact, my first poems were composed in French, and they're very bad poems, they're all dead and gone. But in English, and then translated into Arabic and published in the local newspaper. I was maybe 15 or something like this. So that for me, already the process of composing a poem is a process of translating out of a zone where there are no words into another medium. And so I think it seems very natural in a way to move across borders of certain sorts.
Thank you. My observation is that you want to write a poem that can be easily, like to find a singer, but like the way in the Middle East, there are like 2 poets that I can study, Nizar Tabani, Syrian, and I think it's Hamam from Dubai. They write poems. Now, it was for Kazim Sahar from Iraq, the famous singer, to find the right components, because he's a composer and a singer. And he sings them very well. And the same thing happened with, I think, Kultur, Fariyat al-Finjan. They make poets for, like, they compose it for... We started all knowing and words to become. Yes, but like, did Mahmoud, my question is, did Mahmoud write the song, the poem as a song in the beginning?
I mean, I was thinking ghazals, you know, the great Urdu tradition in India, ghazal, which comes from Persian, were composed great poets like Ghalib. You asked me about Ghalib yesterday. I mean, they were composed as a very intricate poem, but made to be sung. I mean, that was what it was. So that there is a very ancient tradition of poetry that is sung. It's sung lyric. You know? So I think the lyric poem in all languages, I think.
Still, there's like in our culture, music that goes. I mean, I have a taste in like popular music. So, like when a new rhythm comes, then everybody starts to compose things that fit accordingly. You know, one of them is Zakirmani that's been played recently, and out of a sudden you find so many compositions, and you've got remix, the words, yes, and lyrics, and most of them, it's either they follow the rhythm, or I never found the point being in the place that he must write. I mean, poetry in itself is the best of literature, but like he writes it, but it's for the singers to make it look the nicest.
Is it a question now? Still, a comment. Okay. For me, this can be two things. I just stated how I approached Mina's poem, so I approached it from a musical side. I never thought about it. Was it made to be set to music? I just had this feeling that that I can hear music with it. If I cannot hear the music with it, then I should not do this. So there has to be a sound, something switching on a sound in my head by a poem. If that happens, then I can use it. But I'm not saying that this has to be the case with every poem. So I think it can make a difference. Yes, yeah, that's it.
Hani, what is the Arabic word for inspiration? إلهام. إلهام. حلوة الكلمة، شكرا. إلهام.
I can tell you a little example completely from the side. It's not, maybe it's reaching out from this panel. I work with a painter in Vienna together in the studio, and because you were saying you hear music when you write. Oh. Now this painter paints when I play, but I could not compose hearing music. But I can compose when I watch his painting. That's what I did. So you have the various disciplines, and there is a meeting ground in between that is not technical. It's ephemerical. It's in the air, and it depends on a feeling, on the space, on the time, on the right condition. Then these elements can meet and become something bigger. So we did this one experiment where he painted within 30 minutes. While I was playing, I was actually improvising, so not a rigid composition. The painting was ready after 30 minutes. I was not aware of it, then I watched the painting. So this is my sound being on a 2D, two-dimensional square. There it is, it's grey, black, white, that's his colors. So we left the painting and decided to conduct a concert. A few weeks later, that was the painting. I hadn't seen it in the meanwhile, and I was the one who did the concert, looking at the painting. So what was I doing? Extracting sound that I had previously played into the painting back out, something interesting. A cyclic process almost. So these things happen, that's beautiful.
Before you, hearing the Azan now, it's I can't stop not relating it also to words which are sung, actually, because there are muazzins. At the time of Prophet Muhammad, he had particularly selected Bilal, who had the most beautiful voice, inshallah, at that time, in that context, to sing the Azan. Nowadays, unfortunately, we don't have many Bilals. Some of the Azans are not, this is not bad. So it's not very bad.
But I would just like to add one thing to this. I come from a small Austrian city by the name of Graz, and there are not many Muslims there, but there are immigrants. And they're now being given a mosque for themselves. And I know residents from Jerusalem, and then I met a young man who is the dedicated Muslim of Graz, and with the most beautiful voice I've ever heard, he sang in front of me exactly this. So wonderful. This, I don't say tradition, it's a development also. It travels and it's always.
I want to stop a little bit in what Mina said. When you say that I feel that this way not belong to me, it's belong to others. Do you think that it's a kind of collective agreement should be published and heard by a lot of people. Maybe you didn't hear maybe colonization, English colonization in India, but we have collected memory translated by others, by generations. And here, I think what you have seen is a kind of collective memory that should be created for others, for other generations.
Dr. Ian Hanna, just for the moment, is professor of psychology at Telstra from the city. So this question is not very kosher.
What do they say? Don't ask, don't tell.
Could be clarified something for you that it's private memory.
There is a way in which one hopes each piece taps into something that is outside the individual psyche. I mean, that is the hope. I mean, not consciously, but it has to touch something, you know? But as for the feeling that it doesn't belong to me, I mean, it was a very visceral feeling. I don't know how to make sense of it. I mean, I actually don't know. But it's just something I felt.
Yeah, I know, because you know, very famous psychologist and psychoanalyst talked about two kinds of trauma, the international memory and collective memory. And what you have wrote, it's a kind of collective memory of the experience.
Well, I'm very, if you say that, then I'm even more touched to be part of this project.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, both of you. Don't leave. I think you have to leave, right? So we will not take more of your time, although I would have wished you to be here to launch the book together with us. But I know that you are doing something also for the ultimate objective. So thank you, Mina, very, very, very much. Mina is staying with us, so please, all of you, please do stay with us. Your Excellency, Ahlan wa sahlan. We will be in maybe half an hour or so. We will be therefore launching the book Impossible Grace together with Mina, and we will have more surprises. We will have Aglaya, an opera singer, who will be with us, and I shouldn't say if I say surprise, I shouldn't say, and Edwa, who is a wonderful violinist who will be also joining us, so please stay with us, don't leave. We will be moving to a lower level of this caravanserai, Hamam al-Ain, where it will be a little bit warmer. Also, thank you.
Let him be open the stairs or use the microphone. Can we do it from the Okay, very good. But next time we do the renovation here. Sound.
And so I went to Haifa, and there was actually a memorial service for him, a memorial event for him in this Al-Midani theater. And they requested me to read a poem. So I read actually Teatro Olimpico there, and it was translated into Arabic. And then I wrote this poem called Nocturne, which is just like a kind of dream poem. I don't know what it is. We have come to Haifa where the sea stops. The theater Al-Midani floats by a tree. I see this clearly, though a dark filament twists around the moon. I tiptoe through surf. A rope someone left at the end of the jetty, I knot it to my ankle, not wanting to be swept away by sudden longing. Inside the theater, candles, a mountain of gloom. Does Haifa have almond blossom? Must they gather it from the edges of the sea? Someone was shot point blank and killed. A man who kept waiting for the good life to occur, for the mouth to speak what comes before speech. Sap in the tree and firmament of flesh. A child approaches in the darkened theater and whispers in my ear, "Yes, we are waiting for Godot." I am overcome by the scent of tuberoses and cigarette smoke and country life. Yes, many friends of the dead man are smoking. 6 or 7 take turns reading from a poem. They pass the pages from hand to hand. I left my gloom hanging on a branch of foxthorn, and the place weighed less. A woman in black jeans forces open the windows. The moon uncorks herself and blows away. So, this is how the sea starts. Increments of longing, mostly in half darkness, then a white light as waves rush through. The next poem is called, the next 2 poems actually are set in the Indian hospice where I lived in Jerusalem, where I'm actually living now in Jerusalem. And you will see that it has the life of that hospice and the history of it in a way that is coming to the voice of a woman who is speaking to me. By Herod's Gate in a 12th century courtyard, a woman speaks to me. By her, a parrot in a cage. Toot, 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 hoot, toot, toot, a parrot cries. By the cage, stones shift. See, she lifts up her heel. In 1967, they napalmed us. Imagine that, stones where a saint knelt, pitted by fire. Baba Farid, you know him, yes? We buried grandmother in a dress of flames. I keep her chain always. She pointed. Gold swirled over torn bone, savage indentation. Against the parrot cage, I hear a shadow hopping on a heap of stone. We are strangers in this life, she said, I and you. Using a white hanky, she veils her face, then rips it off and goes on talking. We see signs, that's all. A dragonfly on a heap of green almonds right by Damascus Gate. Water in our taps, turning the color of burnt salt, then blazing like stars in the night sky over Jerusalem. By the leaking gas station on the road to Upper East, spray painted on the separation letters. Boys do it when darkness falls. Love sees no color. Dirt whispers, I am coming home. And those last two lines were actually written on the wall. And the next one is called Indian Hospice. And it evokes the saint Baba Farid, who came medieval times, 13th century, from India to Jerusalem. And this is called the Indian Hospice. Yesterday, it rained so hard, lemons stepped from the lemon tree and rolled all over the cobblestones in the Jerusalem courtyard. I thought of Baba Farid, who came on a pilgrimage several centuries ago. In a hole cut from rock by the room where I sleep, he stood for 40 days and nights without food or drink. Nothing for him was strange in the way his body slipped into a hole in the ground, and nothing was not. Rust in the stones and blood at the ring of his tongue. In the humming dark he heard bird bees stitching webs of dew, sharp hiss of breath let out from a throat whose throat he did not know. Was it his mother crying out, "Oh Farid, where are you now?" She had done that when he swung up and down, knees in a mango tree, head in the mouth of a whale singing praises to God. Crawling out of his hole, there were welts on his cheeks. Underfoot in bedrock, visionary recalcitrance. A lemon tree shook in a high wind, under it glistening in its own musk, the black iris of Abudis. Wild with the scents of iris and lemon, he sang, "Oh Farid, this world is a muddy garden, stone, fruit, and flesh, all flaming with love." The next is a short poem. I wrote it after I visited Balata refugee camp in Nablus, and I had done a workshop in poetry with the children, and so this is a poem that, again, is in the voice of someone who's, of the imagined task. A task I gave myself at the age of 10, beside a pile of stones under a neem tree. Vowels beating rainbow tongue, write a sorrow, écrit une tristesse, dukkha mirla. In Balata refugee camp, when someone dies, no time to wash the corpse, no time to weep or pray or ponder loss. Bear the body right away, it must not stiffen the room. Who can break a loved one's bones? In a tight alley, he turned to say, "It's hot here, so little light. Each night we see Jerusalem, city of gold, city of grief. Come with me into the street. Wait on a bench the UN gave. By barbed wire, just as we do. Make it your task. Write a sorrow, write it true." We will have some music here.
Austrian composer. She wrote the piece for dedicated to piece for me, and it's called In Breath of Time. This is part of it.
many colors in possible grace. The next poem is the last poem I'm going to read, and as I will very kindly provide us marvelous and then she will say Massenet at the end. Yes. You know, I always think that, and I believe that music is the highest art, and poetry is always aspiring to the condition of music and never quite getting there, because the poet always keeps stumbling on various steps and so on. Anyway, this poem is called Manila Cemetery, and it of course refers to the cemetery here in Jerusalem, and I was first taken there by Buddha and then by Jamal. And somehow, I don't know how these things work or how they happen, but I was completely haunted by the cemetery, and I actually had a feeling that there was some figure, a woman, who was calling me, and she was saying, well, you have to come back here, you can't go away, you can't go and sit in the cafe and have a cappuccino, you have to come here. So, it was, I would drag myself there because I had a pen and this and that, and I would just go sit there. And I actually I wrote a few lines, and I started this poem in Nablus when I was there as part of Calfest, and I finished it in my ancestral house in India, a house which probably no longer exists because it has been sold and been broken down to build 10-story block flats. There is a little quote at the beginning from Rilke's Elegies, and of course it's in English, and it is the nymph of the wept for fountain. Actually, it's from Songs to Orpheus, so it's from Songs to Orpheus. Manila Cemetery, Part 1. She waits for me under a green almond tree, right in the middle of the cemetery, in front of a broken stone marking a man's death. Glyphs dissolve, her voice clarifies. Why are you here in Maman Allah Cemetery? You should have stayed in the marketplace in Nablus, with mounds of sweet guanafa, gleaming vessels filled with tea, or stopped with the children playing ball and flying kites of bristling paper right by the separation wall. Bare-legged children, wind in their hair. You could have sat in Bethlehem, with women sewing bits of cloth threads iridescent, like sunbirds' wings. Why come to this nest of lamentations? Part 2. I come, I said, for love alone. Though I barely know what this might mean, and because I heard you call me. Black hair blown back over her face, hair stung with flecks of golden chamomile. I watched her gaze at me, her eyes bloodshot soot under her lids. and all about on dusty ground dropped from the almond tree half-moons of green, torn and pecked by passing crows. Her voice surprised me though, low, resolute even. Part 3. What is it you want to know? She rose, swirling her skirts. Stuck to the gleaming silk. Hundreds of shards, they looked like crawling silkworms, maggots even, sucked from earth. Don't be scared. Come closer now. After the bulldozers, after the men with cardboard boxes, I kneel in wet grass. In between the torn gravestones and the ones defaced with paint, I gather what I can. She held up her wrists, bruised, dark as a sparrow's wing. I have work to do. Each night, I wash my hands in moonlight, then gather up these precious bones. Bit by bit, I polish them, using my hands and hair, using smooth stones. I breathe on these ancestral bones until they glow. Miraculous metamorphoses, winged things, they soar into real stars high above Jerusalem. Part 4. Yes, I admit my life is odd. I sleep in that room. The one with black flowers, it blooms by the gate you came through. Easiest that way. No rent to pay, no landlord to trouble me. Don't you agree? Then something took hold of her. The creak, perhaps, of a lorry at the gate. Or was it the mew of a cat from the parking lot? Paved over the unquiet dead. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, settled her skirts. Oh, incandescent bird-eye. One hand gripping a green branch, she leant against the almond tree. The next part is the fifth part, and I will close with that, after which we will have some more violin music. Part 5. Her words were notes struck on a painted oud. An abyss broke between us. When you stand in monsoon rain, remember me, the child of lamentation and sister of memory. Youngest of the muses, the one who whistles in the wind at dawn, who kneels by the clogged stream to open the fountain of joy. I am a creature of water and salt, of bitter herbs and honey, a torn sail on the river Jordan. I long to be free. Thank you very much.
Which is a program that the Center for Jerusalem Studies has been working on, where we bring children from the West Bank to visit Jerusalem to spend a day before they are 14, because once they are 14, as you know, many of you know, they are deprived from entering Jerusalem. So I would like again to thank Mina for having thought of that, because it's true that we get like 80% or 60% of our salaries, but we are a very generous university, and I would have never thought I should sell it. But since Mina has thought of such a noble cause, so you may want to buy a copy of this. Again, we only have 50, and I would like to offer you at least 5 or 6 to take with you to your family. So. Before you leave, if you would like a book, please do. It's here. Otherwise,
how should we sign them?
Yes, Mina can sign them.
Okay, maybe she can.
You can put the money here. You know, maybe it's it will bring us good luck. لو سمحت. Very nice.
It was wonderful. Even if I was too embarrassed, I would have said something.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. But you should come tomorrow evening.
No, I didn't get my book.
كان شك ذهبي معي.
السلام. صباح
لطيف خليك معنا.